to this video from filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with the K, I'm Chris with the K, and this is the third time I've recorded this video because I'm using OBS, Open Broadcasting Studio, which is a great piece of software, but it's not what I normally use. But it has some good features for recording the output audio from my computer. Thing is, I have not gotten the volume levels proper yet, even though I did little tests before I started recording. So I hope the audio is right, because this is the last time I'm recording this. If you have headphones, get them. They're going to be great for this video, but I also apologize if I blow out your eardrums. We're going to be working with SoX today. SoX is a great program. That's SoX. It's probably already installed on your Linux system. If not, it most definitely is in your repositories. It is a very common tool for manipulating audio. It can record, it can trim and split and splice and put together audio files, but it can also generate sounds, and that's what we are working on today. We're going to generate a bunch of different tones. As with most of my videos, in the description of this video, there's a link to the notes where every command I run today will be in those links. So you can just copy and paste them to give them a try, but also try to follow along. But we are going to generate tones real time, but also save them to files. This is great if you want to create your own sound effects for a video game or just have real-time sound effects in a bash script. This is a great way to do it. Let's go ahead and jump in, and I hope my audio is good this time. So go ahead, put your headphones on, and start listening. Okay, so we're here in the shell. Again, links in the description, and I am going to use the play command. Well, first of all, if you need to install SoX, use a package manager. If you're on a Debian-based system, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, so forth and so on, sudo apt install SoX, SoX. Once that is installed, it installs three programs. Installs SoX, Rec for recording, and then Play for playing stuff. It can play audio files, but it can also generate things real time. For example, I can say here, play-n synth 5. 5 means 5 seconds. In fact, I'm going to shorten that up to 2. For 2 seconds, we're playing a sine wave. You can type in SIN, but I think you can also put it type in SINE, but why type the E if you don't have to? And then we give it a frequency number. So we'll go ahead and play this. It will play a 2-second sine wave sound. And again, let me turn my headphones down. Hope that wasn't too loud for you. So again, that was for 2 seconds. We can do 1 second. We can also do fractions of a second, so a tenth of a second. We can do a half of a second by doing 0.5. We can do a fifth of a second by doing 0.2. And of course, we can change that frequency. So we have 300. Let's just, for round numbers, we'll say 400. We'll say 500. We'll say 600. Oh, that was 500 again. 600. So getting higher each time there. So you can set that number for what frequency you want. Let's go ahead and just use a bash loop for start off here. We are going to generate some random tones. So let's look at this. I am using a for loop, and now everything we're doing right here, you could probably do in a SoX command, but I'm just using a for loop because a lot of my viewers are used to bash scripts, so I hope this makes sense to you here. Also, I wanted to mention, I should have said this at the beginning of the video, if you ever look up how to do things with SoX, the commands can get extremely long. And I'm hoping to simplify things for you here in this video. The reason the commands get long is because you can string multiple commands together inside a SoX or play command. We will look at that a little bit in this video, and hopefully that will help you understand the longer, more complex commands in the future. But we're saying here we're doing a bash for loop. We're looping from 1 to 10. So we're going to loop 10 times. Each time we're going to use bash to generate a random number starting at 400 and going up 400 from that. So as my notes say here, we're generating a random number between 400 and 800. Then we're going to say play that synth for a tenth of a second, 0.1. It's going to be a sine wave, and then we're going to play whatever tone we generated up here is the variable. So if I run that, it will play 10 times, playing a random tone each time. And if I ran that again, you can see it played them differently because it's doing it randomly. Now, let's talk about left and right ears. So I can say this. I can say play-n synth for a half a second, a sine wave 347 and a sine wave of 357. If I play that, if you had headphones on, you would hear that there were two different tones, one in the left ear and then a slightly higher one in the right ear. Let's go ahead and make that a little more drastic by putting a higher number in there. So here we're doing a half a second, 447 in the left ear and 857 in the right ear. So you would have heard that in your right ear, the tone was much, much higher. And of course, if we were to flip-flop those numbers, the higher tone will be in the left ear. Okay, now we're playing two different tones, one in the left ear, one in the right ear. But if we were to add the remix commands, so here we're saying play a synth for a half a second, a sine wave at this frequency, and a sine wave at this frequency, which in our last command would have played one out of one ear and one out of the other. Here we're saying remix and then dash. The dash is saying mix them all together. So we'll play those two tones, those two frequencies, in both ears mixed together. With the remix command, we're not going to get into it in this tutorial, but you could list a bunch of synths and say, okay, take 1, 2, and 3 and mix them in the left ear, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5 mix them in the right ear, things along those lines. We're just going to say dash, and we'll mix both those tones. So it's playing both those frequencies, but mixed together in both ears. And again, to show a bit more drastic of a change, we will say 447 and 857, but we're mixing them together, playing them at the same time in both ears. Okay. Now, let's do another for loop here. We're going to do some random tones. So here, we're looping. And again, we're going to get some random tones, but we're going to play two tones, right? So we're going to get some random tones. We're going to generate a random tone, again, between 400 and 800 in the frequency here. And then we're going to add 10 to one of those and then mix them together, right? And we're going to play each one for a fifth of a second, 10 times doing that. There we go. So we just mix things together. And again, I'm just giving you some examples here. Let's go ahead and move up in tones, again, using a bash loop. I'm going to start at 400, and technically we're going to start at 450 because we set a variable for 400, but then we loop, and right away we're going to take our loop, our number here, which is going to be anywhere from 1 to 10. That was what I is, and so each time it's going to get higher. We're going to multiply that by 50. So the first time it will be 50, then 100, 150, 200, and we're going to take that and add that to our tone. So in this case, 400. So we'll start off at 450, then 500, then 550, and then the second tone is actually going to be whatever that number is plus 10. We're going to mix those together into both ears as a sine wave for a fifth of a second. We're going to do that 10 times. So there we go. We got higher and higher. Now, so far we've worked with sine waves. Another popular wave shape is a square wave. Basically, anywhere we put sin or sine, we can change that to square and now play a square wave. Watch your ears on here. Square waves are a little bit more harsh than a sine wave. Okay, so we played that frequency. And again, we can do the same thing as before. We can say a square wave at this frequency, a square wave at this frequency, mix them both together, play them for a half a second. Okay, so now we have that. Let's go ahead and look at pitch changing. So we can actually, instead of just giving one frequency, we can say here, play a synth for 1 second, a sine wave, start at a frequency of 200 and go up to 400. And of course we can reverse that. We can start at 400 and go down to 200. And of course how rapid it does that is based on how long our sine wave or our synth wave is set to be. So 2 seconds would be longer. We can also go really short. So let's say you want to make a video game, you want to make a sound for jumping in the video game. Let's actually probably be better if we went up for a jumping sound, right? 200, 400 at a tenth of a second. Whoop, right? So we just create a video game sound right there live in our shell. We can also, mix it up so we have different options here. So here we have 1 second sine wave, 2 to 400, sine wave 4 to 200. So if you had your headphones on, you would have heard in one ear, the left ear, it went from low to high, and in the right ear, it went from high to low. Let's hear that again. And of course, you could switch those, but we could also, again, use the remix command with the dash, and so now it will go low to high at the same time mixed together in both ears. With that, we can also set a delay to go up in one ear, then down in the other. So what we're going to do in here, we're going to say play a synth for 1 second. What is that? Well, we're going to play starting at 200 up to 400, and then 400 down to 200. Now, they would both play at the same time, but here we're going to say delay. The first one, this one here, give it a delay of 0, so it plays right away. The second one is a delay of 1 second, so we'll wait 1 second and then play it, which just happens to be the same length as our synth itself. So it should go up and then down. Up in the left ear, down in the right ear. Hear that again? Of course, if we were to change this, we could say 2 seconds here. So it's going to play one tone going up in the left ear for 1 second. Then the second one won't start playing right away because it's going to have another second delay because we're saying 2 seconds. Waiting for the first one and then another second, 2 seconds. So we went up we had a second delay, and then it came down. Of course, saying no delay, you get that up and down, and we can actually mix these together. So an up and down in both ears. Now we can do that same command. Let me shrink this up a little bit so you can see better. We are going to run that same command where it goes up and down, but I'm going to say repeat. And what am I going to repeat? I'm going to repeat 5 times. Okay, so that was 10 seconds long, right? So each one of these played for a second, up and down. Now, if we were to do that, let's go ahead and up that number from 5. We'll just say 20. And we will set our delays here to 0.2, and we'll make our synth a 0.2. And this will give us a nice little UFO flying saucer sound. There we go. So we have a little flying saucer sound. A few things to note. So far, we've just used the play command. If we were on the same exact commands, but give it SoX instead and give it an output file name, we can save that to a file. So I'm going to run that. We didn't hear anything, but we've now created an output.wav file. I can use the play command to play that file. Great. We can also do longer commands. So here we have our SoX command. This will give us our little UFO sound, again, to the output command. Now, output wave. Note that it did not warn me that file already exists. SoX will automatically just generate a file. It will overwrite a file that's there. Be careful you don't overwrite a file that's important to you, because right now we have our output wave file, but if I was to play that, it's our new UFO sound. I can hit Control-C to kill that, just like most applications. Here's a little bonus for you. We've done sine waves, we've done square waves. SoX can play a bunch of different sounds, but it can also just make noise. This is going to give us a static noise. Turn the volume down on your headphones right now if you want. There's going to be 1 second of static. And of course, static is kind of high pitch, but there's also lower pitch static, also known as pink noise. So if we say pink noise, it's a lower pitch static. If you're unfamiliar with pink noise is a common sound that people might sleep through. You can buy sound machines to make it. You can also go on YouTube and find 10 or 20 hours of pink noise. There's also applications you can get for your phone that generate it, but you can generate it right yourself, right with your own little Linux machine here using SoX. And you can say, play it for 1 second, 10 seconds, 100 seconds. There you go like this. I don't know how long that is, but they'll probably play all night long while you're sleeping. You'll have some pink noise. Don't have to go out and buy anything or install a special app. Anyway, I do thank you for watching. Filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. I cross my fingers and hope that this audio recorded fine, even though it started pouring outside. You probably hear that in the audio. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for watching. Visit filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. And we have more on SoX, at least 2 more videos on SoX. And then we're going to actually use it in some scripts. So thanks for watching. Hello and welcome to a video from filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. I'm Chris with a K. Sorry that my last video had some slightly low audio. I hope it's better this time around. We're going to be looking at SoX some more. Today, we're not just generating random tones. We're going to be generating tones that are notes. So, again, as always, there's links in the description of this video to notes with all the commands I'm about to run. But we've been playing with SoX. SoX, again, is a common application on many Linux systems and definitely in your repositories for every major Linux distro that allows you to manipulate sound and generate sounds. And we're mainly focusing on generating sounds. And today we're going to be generating, as I said, musical notes. And so let's go ahead and just jump right in. Again, check out the links in the description of this video for all the commands I'm about to run. And go ahead and put your headphones on if you got them. And I'm sorry if I bust your ear caps. Your ear caps? Your eardrums. Ear caps. Anyway, we're using the play command. I hope you watched the previous video. We did install SoX on our distro. If you're using a Linux distribution, check your package manager. Debian-based sudo apt installed SoX. That's SOX. Once you have that installed, 3 of the main commands come with it is SoX, SOX, rec, REC for recording, and the play for playing stuff, including generating sounds. Last time we created sine waves by giving them a frequency, but here if we just say exactly what we said last time, but give it an A, it's going to play an A, right? So we have play, we're going to play a synth, we're going to play it for a half a second, it's going to be a sine wave, and it's going to be an A note. Which A note, if you don't tell it, I'm assuming it's just going to play center A, right? Middle of the keyboard. Okay, there's A, you can do B, and again, there's links in the description. I'm just going to copy and paste A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just like so. So it played all those notes. Now you can also give it a number after it, and that will change the octave it's at. So when we ran, it doesn't matter, B, we can do B2, very low B. We can go B7, it'd be very high. Ooh, I am so sorry about that. Again, I apologize for any very loud frequencies here. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit. On my headphones, you might want to do the same if that was loud. Here I'm just going to play 6 different commands. It's just going to be playing A in each octave, 1 through 6. Okay, there we go. Now, again, we are playing it. Let's go ahead and make this a 4. This is the number of seconds. We're doing a half a second here. We can do 1 second. We can do 2 seconds. Or however long you would like it to be. Now, so far we're using the SIN for a sine wave. Well, we can change that to PL. And I'm going to tell you what, I quickly looked at the command page. I don't know what PL stands for. Sounds more like a harpsichord to me. But let's go ahead and play this. This is A in the 4th octave for 2 seconds. Okay, maybe some sort of guitar, harpsichord, I don't know. So again, any of those times we use sin for short for sine. You can also type sine. And in the previous video we did square waves. If you do PL, you get more of this guitar-y, stringy sound. So again, just like before, I'm going to play A from the 2nd octave through the 6th octave with that PL. Now, let's say we wanted to play a chord. We wanted to play a bunch of notes together. Well, we can string those together. So, for example, here I can play for 2 seconds a G2 and a B2, and we're doing that as a sine wave. And of course, we can string more of them together. We can go like this to where we're playing a G2, a B2, a D3, a G3, a D4, and a G4, all as sine waves here. And of course, instead of sine wave, you can give it that PL, so we get more of that plucky sound. Again, very harpsichordy sounding, if you ask me. Now we can mix things together, because when we did that, you may or may not have noticed, but half the notes are playing in the left ear and half the notes are playing in the right ear. Just like in our previous command, we can say dash or remix dash, and that will mix them all into both ears. And then we have this norm-1 command. I just got errors when I didn't put that in there. So I put that in there based on tutorials. I should have looked up what that meant. But norm-1. We have a nice little chord. But let's say that that's like, hitting all the notes on a keyboard or piano or harpsichord. But a piano, you kind of strum it, so there's a delay to each one. Just like we did in our previous videos, we can play each of these synths. We're going to play them for 2 seconds, but then we can set a delay for each one. So we're going to give it a number 0, then 0.05, then 0.1, and then 0.15. So that's going to be going from the first one, which I have set to a sine wave here, so you can mix those. Let's go, we'll leave that as a sine wave. So it's going to play this one without a delay, and then 0.05 seconds later it's going to play this one, and then a tenth a second later, overall it's going to play this, and then 0.15. So each one of these is going to be delayed a little bit, and we're going to get more of a strumming sound. You can definitely hear that sine wave in there. Let's go ahead and set that back to PL. And we have a nice little strum of a chord. Now, we can also have things fade in and out. So if we basically take that same command, again, these commands are getting long just because there's lots of notes in it, but again, there's links in the description of this video to everything. We'll run this command, same thing, but we're adding in this fade, 282. I'll explain that in a moment, but so it came and went out. And if you look at the notes that I have on the page, here we're saying the fade, and then we can pass it a type of fade, but we're going to say fade length, and we're going to say the stop length. So basically, we're going to fade 2 is a type of fade. We're going to fade for 8 seconds and fade out at 2, or the length of the fade out. So we'll run that again. And of course, if we were to change those, let's go ahead and change that. So now instead of 282, we'll do 182. You can tell that was a different fade in there. And of course, we can shorten this all up. Instead of 8, let's go ahead and just say 4. bit shorter of a fade, and we can also have it fade out a bit quicker. We'll say 1. So there you can affect how quickly it fades in, fades out, how long it holds for in the middle there. And of course, just like in our previous video, if you wanted to save the output, you can use the SoX command. And so we're going to run that same command we just ran using play, but instead we're going to say SoX, and then we're going to give it an output of output.wave, which again will override that file if it already exists without warning you. And then I have a second command here to play. Actually, we'll run that as a second command. So there, we generate it. It only takes a moment to generate. Now we can say play, and we can give it that output.wave. So again, if you wanted to generate some sounds for a video game, you can do it right here in the shell without having to go anywhere. Save it as a WAV file or other audio format, and then you're good to go for whatever project you need those sounds for. Again, filmsbychris.com, that's Chris the K. There's a link in the description to my website. Be sure to look at there. There's a support section. Of course, you can become a Patreon supporter over at Patreon. You can also support me through PayPal, LibrePay, buy me a coffee. Just check out the support section on my website, and yeah, I thank you for any support. Like, share, subscribes, and comments. Comments are great. Leave some comments. Okay, this is the third video I'm recording on SoX. Been having audio issues with the volume of my voice. I really hope I got it right now. It looks like it might be a little high. I'll lower it a little bit. Okay. I just don't want to clip. It's also raining outside. You could probably hear that. But I also want you to be able to hear my voice clearly. Again, I'm using different software than I normally do because we're doing audio stuff. And normally I'm just recording my voice. Well, now I'm trying to record my voice and the audio coming out of my computer, which I've done before, but it's not something I do often. And trying to match those two so they go well together is not as easy as you would think if it's not something you normally do. Anyway, we have been working with SoX. SoX is an application, a great application for manipulating and also generating audio, which is what we've been doing. Today we're just going to have a little bit of fun with MTMF. So what is MTMF? Digital Tone Modulation Frequency? I should have looked up what it meant, I forget. But it's basically, if you're old like me and you had a touch-tone phone, it's the tones that they generate. So we're going to be looking at generating dial tones and ringtones that you would have heard on a landline, specifically for North America. And then we're going to go through the 16 different numbers, characters, and symbols that you can generate with these tones. This could be fun if you're just trying to generate some sounds like those, but actually practical for touch tone purposes. You can play tones that activate stuff in other places. You know, when you call on a phone and you press a button to play a tone, select option 1, option 2, your phone is technically creating a tone, and there's specific tones for 1, 2, 3, 4, pound, and all that. And when the computer on the other end hears it, it does something. This could also be used when, gated neighborhoods. Like my parents live in a gated neighborhood. Someone will dial on the number pad, it makes their phone ring, and when they press a button, it opens the gate. These are tones. We're going to generate them today. I don't know if you're going to have any use for this, but it's still fun to do, and there is some practicality to it. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Put your headphones on. Actually, this one you don't need your headphones on as much as the previous ones because we're not doing a lot of left and right audio stuff. And I will try not to blow out your eardrums. Again, I hope my volume levels are good here. So in the shell here, we are going to run some simple commands. Again, as always, check out the links in the description of this video for the notes that of every command I'm about to run. And this should be pretty quick. Here we're going to play a synth. We'll play it, well, it says 10 seconds. We'll do 5 seconds because the video, we don't need to listen to it for that long. We're going to play a sine wave at 350 and a sine wave at 440 and mix them together. That's what the mix dash is, the pound, and this is just note saying this is a North American dial tone. So if you're old like me and you've heard a dial tone, this is what it should have sounded like. Similarly, how about a ringtone? So when you dial someone's number and you hear it ringing so you know that it's ringing on the other end, we'll do a sine wave of 440 and a sine wave of 480, mix them together, and we'll do this for 2 seconds. Right, you still hear that even with cell phones. When you call, you'll hear some sort of ring there, so you know that the phone's ringing. So that's a fun little sound. Now, let's say, again, these are just set frequencies that these tones should be at that we're mixing together. And again, if you look at my notes, here is the pound symbol is just a comment to let you know this is the sound for pressing 1 on a touch tone phone. We'll do it for 1/10 of a second, right? We can do it longer, like if you held the button, the key on the phone longer, 1/2 a second. And of course, I'm just going to quickly copy and paste all that I have in here. So there are letters, numbers, and symbols on your phone. You're normally going to have the numbers. You're going to have a pound symbol and a asterisk. There are a few other letters, A, B, C, and D. We're going to play all those here in a row at 1/10 of a second each. Great. And again, if you watch the previous videos, you can save those to files. But in reality, if you were to record certain tones of certain numbers and you were to go to I don't think it's not going to work on a cell phone for dialing, but if you had a landline, you could play this from your computer or a recording. You could record it to a file like on an MP3 player and play it into a landline phone, and it will dial a number. And back in the day, way back in the day, this also there were tones for when you put coins in a payphone. So if you want to make a phone call and they'll say put in 50 cents and you drop in some quarters, that would play tones. And originally you could record those tones and play them back. Very quickly the phone companies became aware of this, and they actually started in payphones using extra lines for those tones, so you couldn't just play it through the headset to get free phone calls. But touch tones are still commonly used when you're calling into these different things. I know a lot of things are voice activated now, but tones are very useful, a very quick and easy way to, with a simple pad of numbers, relay information. So again, check out the notes in the description, and I just wanted to make you aware that you could generate these tones and sounds because, I mean, sounds are just waves at certain frequencies and changing, and we can do all that, oops, I whacked my microphone, all that with SoX. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you check out the notes and give this a try. It's a fun little thing to do.